Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lula here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you probably heard a lot about home equity lines of credit, home equity loans. Maybe you don't know exactly what you can do there. Whether you're looking to do a little remodel, update a kitchen or a bathroom, maybe you just need a little extra cash to go on that dream vacation. Here's how it works. You can access some of the equity you've built up in your home with either a line of credit or a loan, and Centris Federal Credit Union can help you out there. They're federally insured by NCOA and an equal housing lender. Go check them out, centrisfcu.org, to talk to their experts about what this means for you and how you can access your home, the equity in your home. That's centrisfcu.org. DB.
What do you want?
You like that? You like Smith a lot. You like the way he runs.
I do. And I'm surprised being down there in like Little Rock. He's not getting more run from
It seems to be a place that usually gets attention.
Texas.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Texas is clearly
powerful player.
They're doing their thing.
Yeah.
No, they might get their head beat in the opener. But I don't know. I could have sworn Texas wasn't supposed to make a good transition to the SEC.
So what they told me.
And they seem squarely positioned.
Yeah, they seem fine.
To be just fine.
They seem like they're doing all right.
Like that was a thing, right?
And Oklahoma did struggle. Like Oklahoma is
like Texas. I'm not making that up.
No, I think both. I think everyone thought that both Texas and Oklahoma would get a little bit of a comeuppance when it was.
And they haven't. Now they're still bad in hoops.
Yeah, they struggle.
But they've established their pecking order in volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
Really good in football.
Baseball.
And fantastic in baseball. I think they're fine.
I think Texas might be okay. I think a lot of it with Texas, at least for me,
we might owe Sark an apology.
So that's what I was going to say. A lot of it for me was Sarkisian.
You might have to owe him an apology.
Well, I don't know him personally, so probably not going to reach out. But I think a lot of the hesitation for me was Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of look at him and you go, okay, the track record's not – it's okay. It's not great. Hasn't really had – huge success as a head coach. He turned around a bad Washington program at the time, got a little help there. Didn't do great obviously had some issues at USC, but then it's just assistant jobs, right? Yeah. You're looking at going to Coach Saban rehab school for wayward head coaches. And
I think they got a great schedule.
Texas?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at them.
I mean, you open with Ohio State, and I get it, but you're breaking in a first-year quarterback.
Yeah.
First-year starter, right?
So you have a chance.
Which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, I do think Arch is overrated.
You have been a stalwart on the
I do
out
think,
on Arch.
I just don't see it.
Think it's a last name thing?
I think you're going to have to throw the ball better.
Okay.
I think you're going to have to be much more accurate. But
you weren't in love with Quinn Ewers, though, either.
Oh, well, and that's proven to be.
No, I agree, but I'm just, the question isn't – I don't think the question is Arch as good as everyone thinks he is? It's can he be at least as good as Quinn Ewers?
Yeah. Now, you go to the Swamp.
Yep.
Which, again, I'm out on Lagway. So, and I'm saying that now without – I'm not even taking a wait-and-see approach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out on Lagway.
Okay.
And I'll give the apology later. I'm not – if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'll eat the crow, cold, warm, whatever, out on Lagway. You got to go to Georgia, but then you get, you close. You got Arkansas at home,
A&M at home.
You got A&M at home,
Oklahoma.
They have it's a good schedule for a team that opens with the Ohio State.
It's not bad. Like
it is very manageable.
For the way that we talk about some of these SEC schedules, I don't look at that and go, oh, it's a gauntlet.
Yeah.
That seems pretty manageable. It certainly wasn't Florida's schedule last year.
Now, that August 30th game, though, I mean.
Yeah, that one, they're going to have to be on it.
Going to have some fellas.
Yeah, they're going to have to be on that one.
I wonder if I'm going to be right or wrong. Do you remember the player on Ohio State that I didn't give pushback to, but I would always try to explain context, and I think people thought I was speaking Portuguese?
It wasn't Jeremiah Smith, was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because you were talking about how they kind of schemed him open, and like he's not just running by people and some miscommunication.
I want to just fast forward.
Yeah.
Because I hear all these national guys talk about Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I don't know, guys. I don't know.
I personally, and I said this last year, I liked Ryan Williams better as a receiver. You're talking about the 2 freshman receivers from last year. I was more impressed.
And he will be force fed to us. And it's not his fault.
Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams?
Smith.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. But I'm just color me. I've stored that one in the old closet, and I will revisit. I had guys shoot through this show. Oh, man, he'd be an all-pro tomorrow, or he's Sunday guy today. And I'm like, guys, no, he's not.
We had a lot of people say that he could start for X, Y, and Z team tomorrow.
No. Like, just watch it.
Yeah.
We still got he's got a great coach, wide receivers coach. His dudes produce.
Hartline's as good as it gets.
But I just really, really good, just not sure.
He's what everybody talked about.
Yeah. Which is hard because he is held in.
Yeah, the regard is
high.
And again, not his fault.
High.
Right. He is like and
I know you used to get mad at me, and I'm not going to rehash him or relitigate it.
Yeah.
But that was my thing about Frost. I'm like, the expectations you guys put on him, it's not right. He's not like, it just was going to be too much. So I always had a little bit of a soft spot because it was what we thought he was going to be capable of being, not what it. I don't think it's very realistic. Now, he was unbelievably
bad,
not good.
Bad. It's like it was bad.
So, but like that's why I always kind of had the soft spot.
That's where I struggle with the Frost.
I didn't think he should have made the bad hire list.
So, well, again, it wasn't a bad hire. It was a very bad result.
Yeah.
Right. My issue with Frost was, I agree with you. The expectations of like savior of the program and stuff like that was a lot and unnecessary. But
he's just not built for that.
Well, I don't think anybody who doesn't know him had any way of knowing that really, right? But here's where I had a problem.
I don't know, man. I just very few were willing to say it out loud.
Okay. I mean, maybe.
I got hammered for it, right? Got the whole Lawrence thing thrown in my face. I'm like, you guys are idiots. Like, I talked to this dude. Like, yeah, okay, like that didn't ruffle that.
But you do know him better than most.
Yeah.
Right. So like, my point is you probably have insight there about how his personality is and what he's equipped to handle versus most people.
And you know what? It's what I've always said about Lincoln. You have to be built a certain way.
Yeah, we talk about it with some of the recruits.
You have to be built a certain way to handle the city of Lincoln.
Yeah.
To handle the platform known as the University of Nebraska and thrive in this state.
And you've talked about it with other coaches too, about it being Disneyland and gets a little on top of you. And like
we've
as much as I defend Mike Riley, he did feel a little like, oh shucksy, look at all this stuff I've got.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and again, he gets a bad rap. He also made that list, but he handled what came with Lincoln
better
than any of them.
Yeah.
He did.
He really did. Better than Bo for sure. Better than, you're right. Better than any of them.
It's like I watched this thing unfold. It ate Callahan up. It ate Bo up.
Obviously, it ate Frost up.
It consumed Frost. It didn't get.
It's not like Solich loved it.
It didn't, and it wore on him.
Yeah.
It did not get Riley.
Yeah.
It did not get Riley.
I will say, the thing that bothered me, and we don't have to relitigate this, but the thing that bothered me with Frost wasn't necessarily not living up to expectations. It was not even getting to like the bare minimum, right? It was so much worse than anyone could have even imagined. And also sort of the way it happened.
Yeah, not you guys. People just didn't like his personality.
Yeah, the way.
So you pit it against the results, and it's like we're doubly down. I understand it.
And I think some of the reasons, and you're probably right, because of his personality, it probably never would have worked out the way the highest expectations were kind of expected to. But I think there is a reason why it failed so spectacularly, and some of that's on him. And that's where I get kind of bent out of shape about the Frost thing. If he had turned into basically Pelini 2.0, that wouldn't have met expectations, but I would have been fine with that. And I think if he had handled some of the other things better that were within his control, that was on the table.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I get upset with it.
So the only reason that even remotely came up is because with a guy like Manning or
Jeremiah
Smith.
Yeah.
I just don't think – I think the expectations are too lofty. And I hear you, T-Mac. Arch is better than yours. We'll see.
So that's the question, right?
Like we'll see. You guys were in the championship game. We'll see.
Yeah.
Texas, to get Texas back to where they've been the last couple of years, I mean, take a lot of things for granted.
Yeah.
Now you have one of the best edge rushers in the country. Your running back room will be healthier. But, I mean, Texas was pretty good last year.
Yeah, they were.
I said that all year.
Yeah.
And for everything yours wasn't, somehow they managed to function in crunch time. And sure, I get the pedigree thing, Todd, but yeah, well, color me curious.
Yeah,
color me curious.
My question isn't, like I said, is Arch as good as people think he is? Is he as good as yours, or is he a little bit better than yours? Because that'll make a big difference. But you bring up a good point as well. He could be better than yours, and if the rest of Texas isn't better, it's still not going to get the results you want.
Yeah, and, yours made a lot of plays when he had to.
He was. Yeah, he did. We don't know if that's in Arch yet. We just haven't seen it.
I mean, go back and watch the second half against Washington 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, some of that was his first half play.
Yeah.
But Sark didn't do him any favors either, though, with play calling.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to play to your quarterback's strengths.
I do think sometimes Sark either thought Ewers was more capable than he was, or didn't understand his limitations well enough.
One of those guys, again, you get this with super high-level thinkers, which clearly Sark is.
Yeah.
They have a tendency, when it doesn't work, they don't have a tendency to ask why. Mm-hmm. Smart people just assume they know the why.
Yeah.
He's the type of person to say, now how come this isn't working?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, you probably need to revisit the why.
Yeah.
But again, smart people typically assume they know the why.
Yeah, and that can be a little bit dangerous for them,
especially
sometimes.
Real time. I coach with a lot of guys. You see a lot of guys that are very good, really good PowerPoint guys, or schematically, you can install a game plan, and then all of a sudden the game happens.
Mm-hmm. It gets away from being hurt.
And it's the guys that can process with what's going on real time and adjust that are oftentimes the guys that we talk about in terms of the coaching pantheon. A lot of guys are good Monday through Friday without any real live ammo.
Yeah.
Because the guys across from you have dry erase boards too.
Yeah, the whiteboard part's the easy part of the job, right? Yeah.
I mean, there's a particular coverage we love to play, and this was Millard South 3 years ago, and they had beaters for it because we played it a ton. And I remember those first 3 series, it was like, we probably do this all day.
Probably do something else.
They probably could do this all day.
Yeah.
And, just the ability to have to scramble and to make something up and just to hold water until we could get to halftime. Like, those are the things that I enjoyed doing. And it's not I don't even mean to make that a me thing. My point in saying that is sometimes as coaches, if you're good at it, you never ask about why you're not getting the end result with the right question.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple things.
I think Sark should have looked at that offense and been like, listen, I know I like my shot plays. This is not a shot guy.
Yeah.
I think anytime that thing was in the air more than 20 yards, like, there's no way they're catching that. And maybe that's why Golden didn't look fast. I don't know.
He's always waiting on stuff.
But they take their shots.
I do wonder, I think a lot of times with really smart people in professions like coaching where there's a good amount of ego, I do think sometimes there's a very fine line in between, like, doubling down on what conceptually works versus bailing on, hey, we're not able to execute this right now.
We've seen a lot of guys really good the first 10, 15 plays of a game, right?
And we're like, oh, what happened?
And then the actual game breaks out.
Like, you get away from the script. You're like, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it with the Boston Celtics earlier this week, right? Where you go, hey, conceptually, what they've done has worked all year. Yeah. What they've done worked last year to win a title. And then you get in the moment, you go, hey, obviously they're not executing at a level that's making this work right now. Part of that's probably the Knicks. Part of it's probably the Celtics. What do you do when, hey, this is how we got here. This is what we're good at. This is what's worked. when all of a sudden you're not executing that? Is that in game 2, they doubled down, right? We're going to take 40 more threes and see what happens. And it didn't work. In game 3, do you turn around and say, hey, maybe we need to adjust our approach a little bit? Or does the ego override you and say, no, this is what works. I know this works. We're going to keep going. Like, I think that's a real struggle with smart people in positions where you have to have some ego, is that struggle between doubling down and deciding when to adjust.
Well, remember, we didn't like Ant's response to the shooting thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many threes? Did you think they were going to shoot less threes last night?
No.
Yeah. They shot 37 of them.
Yeah.
They just happened to make 16.
And they happen to not have to deal with the best player on the other team.
I'm just saying.
No, you're right, though.
Philosophically, though, they doubled down.
Yeah. And it worked.
Yeah.
And Boston doubled down, and it
didn't work.
Got them in a 0-2 hole.
Yeah.
Right? Now, part of that, again, is the opponent. That's part of the reason it's tricky, right? Because they've got whiteboards, too. And, Tibbs is one of the better defensive coaches we've seen in the last quarter century, right? And since the turn of the century. And that's a guy that is probably more able to force you into some things in offense that you don't really love, as opposed to, say, a Steve Kerr, who's known more for his offensive stylings, right? Like, that's just there's a different dynamic there too. So maybe sometimes the right answer is to double down in a similar situation, but on the other way, it's like, hey, we probably need to do some things different.
Yeah. So it's just on the heels. My buddy just asked Raiola over Lagway. And that whole conversation, I know you had. I don't know if he heard your meltdown over this.
He may not have,
because that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
right?
it was at least a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
and you went in on.
I don't understand the obsession.
Okay,
with Lagway.
So not to say that he's not.
Yeah, exactly. But they're putting him in a like a pantheon right now that doesn't make sense.
How much of those two guys' progress do you feel is based on the game plan that's predicated around them? So who's more connected to how the game is called?
That's an interesting question. I obviously don't pay as close of attention to Florida as I do to Nebraska. So I don't know that I have the same feel, but I think the assumption is Lagway is so physically gifted that he'll overcome whatever system he's in.
Yep.
Whereas
I think that's a very dangerous game to play.
Yeah, because nobody's more physically talented than Anthony Richardson, and that didn't matter.
And for as gifted as I think Dylan is, I still am excited. Part of why I'm excited is not just that alone. It's the partnership
with Dana. Yeah.
And I know that Dylan has to go first, though.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm really excited about the fact that, and I don't know if DJ is this or not. I genuinely don't. But I know for a fact that Dylan's going to know all the things he's supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, there is zero question about that in my mind. He is going to know every single thing he's supposed to know. I don't know if that's the case with DJ. It might be, it might not be. But the perception is he's so physically gifted that he'll just kind of make it work.
I think quietly, though, we kind of forget Florida was much better than we thought a year ago.
They were.
We were on Napier Firewatch.
We were for a long time. And they had, I brought them up when you were talking about Texas's schedule. Florida had the toughest schedule in the country last year by a mile.
Yeah.
Like, it was a killer. And they navigated it okay. They finished pretty strong. But you still look at Lagway's numbers and you go, like, that's not world-beating numbers, right? And we do this thing with hyper-gifted, not just quarterbacks, but athletes in general, but especially at quarterback, where we sit there and we go, oh, the tools will win out. It's way worse in college, but we see it in the NFL too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason Jalen Milroe got drafted where he did. Is Jalen Milroe on production and what we saw a third-round quarterback?
I mean, the easy answer is no. I have to probably think about it. I do think he is better than we give him credit for watching him play. I think, I'm not going to say single-handedly. That offensive line was just okay a year ago.
Sure.
And I didn't love how they ran the ball sometimes.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll say no.
Like, let's say if we think Jalen Milroe runs a 4.8 40, we're not taking him where he got taken, right?
I struggle with that, though, because I think physical attributes matter.
They do matter, right?
They matter.
They definitely do. But we make assumptions about super talented or super physically gifted people.
Well, he's got a huge arm.
Yeah.
He's got a great frame.
Mm-hmm.
He can run. I mean,
but here's my question then, right? If all those things are true, and they are, then
he can't play catch yet. That's the thing.
There we go. Is the results?
Can I teach you to play catch? We'll see.
That's the question, right? If all those things are true in the NFL, they were true in college also. I'd like the results to be a little bit better.
No, I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I sit here and I go.
But as long as Josh Allen continues to flourish, you're going to get this.
I know, and he is probably he's probably the reason a lot of teams are going to fail on their quarterback draft picks.
Yeah, but you've been on this, though, pre-Josh Allen and certainly post.
Yeah.
You just don't like rolling the dice on quarterbacks.
I don't like rolling the dice on guys that have shown me they can't play the position. That's where I struggle. And yes, you're going to have every once in a while, you're going to have a Josh Allen. But for every Josh Allen, you're going to have 100 guys that you draft because of their tools and their traits. And you're like, oh, if I can get him to do X, Y, Z.
God, you know what, though? Like, it was kind of your anti-argument, though, with Shedeur. And it was kind of making me mad because I'm like, all right, we may not love the elite level physicality, but there's a lot of other things that allow him to function at a pretty good level that we probably should pay attention to. And we did, and we weren't willing to give him that benefit of the doubt.
I mean, I'm
not here honking for Shedeur. Don't get me
I'm not
wrong.
either, but I was here saying it's crazy that he fell to where he did. And before the draft, I was like, I don't really understand this knock that he's this terrible athlete. Like, I get he's not Jalen Milroe, but he moves around pretty well. Like, he's not a statue back there by any means, because if he was, he would have gotten killed behind that Colorado line the last 2 years.
Don't matter to me.
And so I would rather, like,
that is gonna forever kill me.
This is kind of my point, though. I would rather take a Shedeur who has produced at a high level and I think has good enough physical characteristics over a Jalen Milroe, who I look at and I'm betting on these physical characteristics turning into something they really haven't yet.
All right, so let's just take a couple of quarterbacks. Let's take Sam Levitt and Cade Klubnik.
Okay.
Two guys that are getting a ton of burn for next year's draft.
Yeah.
What has either one of those guys shown you?
I mean, I think a lot of people like how Sam Levitt looked with Dillingham last year.
What about Mateer from Oklahoma?
I'm not a huge Mateer guy.
It's just, I'm just telling you, you want a perfect one?
What's that?
How about Nussmeier?
Yeah. I get that. I'm not a huge Nussmeier guy either.
Yet.
I wasn't going into last year.
We're enamored with 13 and 11 and 2,500 yards in Lincoln. So the quarterback, and I say that to be objective.
Yeah.
There has to be some other traits that we're looking at other than data.
Here's the problem, though.
Does that make sense?
It does, but when I've got a Cade Klubnik and I've got a Sam Levitt and I've got a Garrett Nussmeier and I've got a Drew Aller, I've got a lot more data points to fall back on. Like, there's a certain point, and I can't tell you exactly when it is, to be fair. But there's a certain point where I have to trust what the physical traits have resulted in over the physical traits themselves. I think we're still on the front end of that curve with a Dylan, and to be fair, with a DJ Lagway as well. I think we're on the back end of that curve on some other people that were given the benefit of the doubt.
Do you even want me to get into Lenore Sellers?
I mean, that's who I thought you were going to say.
I mean,
that's what I thought you were going to say. When you said Garrett Nussmeier, I thought you were going to give me Lenore Sellers.
Quarterbacks will always get this.
I mean, it's the same thing. I'm very familiar with this. This is what happens in basketball.
They will always get this.
This is a basketball thing. You bet on traits, right? Like, this is the most.
But for whatever the reason, we don't like Drew Aller.
But I'm consistent in basketball. I don't like it when they bet on traits on guys that can't play either. Like, I have a really hard time, especially with guys that have been through it a couple years, to sit there and go, yeah, at some point it's magically going to click. Typically that's not how it works.
Quarterbacks don't get the benefit of the doubt, though, boss.
Yeah. And how many teams draft bad quarterbacks?
You're going to pull your hair out.